everyone, Kyle here. Hope you're all doing well. Today's date is June 11th, 2024. Let's get caught up on market action today. So today we have WWDC day 2 with Apple, and apparently Vision OS 2 is already here. The darn thing's not even been out for 7-8 months, and we're already on the second release of the operating system for it. I really just wish they would do like version 1.1 and 1.2, and I mean, how often are we going to be releasing new versions of operating systems? That whole naming scheme just, seems to be getting a little bit out of control. I mean, we already have iPhone all the way up to 15. How far does this run? Are we going to have an iPhone 25 and, like Samsung's doing, whatever. Just seems a little silly to me. They're also coming out with a password manager app on OS X with the new upcoming OS X operating system update. I'm just a little bit hesitant to be storing all my passwords with my operating system as well. I mean, I certainly would not be wanting to do that with Microsoft. I have no interest of storing my passwords in Safari and using their signature algorithm, or however it does that, like identification method and encryption. I'm not storing my passwords in Chrome. I'm not storing my passwords in a text document. I use my own third-party password manager, and I can talk about that some other day, but I'm not using anything with any major, large blue chip company. That's not where I want my passwords to be stored. And so even if I think Apple is reasonably secure, a password manager on the MacBook is great, but not something I'm crazy interested in. They also released private cloud compute today. So this has me a little bit hopeful. And what private cloud compute is Apple's own server hardware using Apple Silicon processors. So like the processors that they've started to build for their iPhones and for their iPads and all their devices, they've got away from Intel, they've got away from AMD and ARM, and they're not using anybody else's hardware. They're making their own in-house processors again for a couple years now. And apparently they are also installing these processors in their own custom servers. So they're specifically designed to ensure that data is never retained or exposed to any third party, including Apple. Now we know that's a lot of just words and not necessarily any proof, but apparently it leverages blockchain-like technology to upload relevant data to private servers, which are then processed and deleted immediately, leaving no trace of the data. Now, I know when some people hear blockchain-like technology, that's not a positive thing. Some people unfortunately correlate that with like NFTs, which have had a lot of drama around them, and cryptocurrencies, which we know have a lot of drama around them. The blockchain technology is the bread and butter of the NFT space and the cryptocurrency space. All blockchain technology is just a double-checked, triple-checked, quadruple-checked kind of ongoing log of transactions, or it doesn't have to be transactions. In this case, it can just be blocks of data coming in and going out, and having multiple checks to say this is legitimate data, and tracking it all along the path, having a kind of a historical timeline of where it's going, where it came from. I suppose ensuring that it gets deleted, and also obfuscating the potentially, some of the metadata that it might be using. So the blockchain technology that we got from Bitcoin originally is extremely valuable, and it has so many more use cases than just cryptocurrencies and NFTs. Just that's where we typically hear about it most. And I can go into that on another video if everybody would like that too. So supposedly they're going to be way more secure using proprietary hardware. That can definitely be the case. You don't have bad actors or hackers or other ill will state entities don't have the ability to get their hands on this type of hardware, and so that makes it nearly impossible to be creating malware and viruses that would work on it and be able to access it. Supposedly, it's also going to be publicly reviewable code. I don't know if it's entirely open source, but the fact that they are making some or all of the code publicly reviewable is definitely a step in the right direction, in my opinion. Nothing about transparency in this case is a negative. So potentially this is a game-changing move for Apple in how they handle their cloud data, and I was touching on this just a little bit yesterday when they announced that they are coming out with Apple Intelligence, Apple's Apple Intelligence, and how it might be using and how it will be using occasionally cloud services and sending data to and from Apple servers, supposedly getting then instantly deleted and just using that as a means of a higher level of compute for maybe like a more intense query. So supposedly this is going to focus on prioritizing privacy and protecting the end user from any of that data getting out, and it should be anonymized the whole way through and then instantly deleted. I can only hope that that is nothing but absolutely true. So before I get into this next segment, I wanted to say that I have a Twitter account now, or an X account. So if you'd like to follow me on there, I will have my link in the description below. Please feel free to follow me on there. I welcome that. Please also subscribe if you've liked the content that I've provided so far and like the video, or leave a comment on something that you'd like me to cover in the future. I hugely appreciate the support. It means so much to me. One of my viewers in the comments yesterday commented about the feud between Apple and Elon that started yesterday. I hadn't even noticed it. So this is something that I wanted to also touch on and cover some of that. So Apple yesterday, as part of their day one WWDC conference, announced that they are going to be taking their new Apple Intelligence and allowing it to work with, as needed, OpenAI, and that they intend to only further integrate OpenAI kind of into their advanced intelligence. But Elon had some comments about that, and we know Elon has a bit of a feud with OpenAI already, and I'll touch on that here. So Elon went to X and said, if Apple integrates OpenAI at the operating system level, then Apple devices will be banned at my companies. This is an unacceptable security violation. He also said visitors will have to check their Apple devices at the door, where they will be stored in a Faraday cage. Pretty strong statements he's making there. He also said it's patently absurd that Apple isn't smart enough to make their own AI, yet is somehow capable of ensuring that OpenAI will protect your security and privacy. Apple has no clue what they're actually going on once they Apple has no clue what's actually going on once they hand your data over to OpenAI. They're selling you down the river. So he clearly has some issues with Apple taking potentially your data and passing on that query through their system, whether it goes through their cloud compute secure servers or not, or however they handle that. The problem might be when it ends up at OpenAI's servers, then what are they doing with that data? How much metadata can they see, and how do they process that? OpenAI has already admitted to basically using user data as a part of their training set. So we know that's how they're building on top of their platform. And if Siri, through her microphone and listening capabilities, is interacting with OpenAI, and then this is being used during work hours and potentially catching other conversations going on in the workplace that are, potentially top secret level stuff for internal to the company, then sure, absolutely, this is a privacy concern. Tesla alone has over 140,000 employees. Now, Obviously, not all of those employees have Apple devices. Maybe, say, 70% of them do, 65, 70% of them. Is that really going to hurt Apple? No, it's just going to be, Apple has over 1 billion users. This is just going to be an inconvenience to the employee. And, the goal here isn't, I don't think, to get the employee to change their device. This is just Elon saying, we can't have this potential security risk being inside our workplace. I don't see this too crazy different from how the US government says we're not allowing TikTok to be installed on work provided cell phones, right? We don't want your work phones being brought into confidential spaces, and because you've already given TikTok permission to record audio through your microphone with the app being open or not open, definitely a potential there. You just don't know. So curious to see if other companies might follow suit in the near future. But Apple has not come back directly and commented on this again. So, and we know Elon's feud with OpenAI. He was a part of kind of the founding team, and he was on the board, and he provided equity as a part of the kind of fundraising to get it going. And it was under the premise that this was going to be not for profit, and this was going to be for the betterment of society. Lo and behold, then they sold the majority of their company to Microsoft, and now they're all for profit. So he has a big issue with that. He also has an issue with how quickly it's advancing in its capabilities. So there has been attempts by him and a number of other innovators in the space to put barriers on how quickly it can advance. But I find that a little bit kind of two-sided and a little bit ironic when now Elon is also working on his own AI called Grok and trying to advance that as quickly as possible. So you can't just take a blow to the knees of one and then say, well, I don't think he was necessarily saying, let's put a limit on just OpenAI and not on his own intelligent AI, but I don't know. Markets today are pretty much still just sideways as we await the coming federal interest rate decision tomorrow. That will come out at about 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time. So it's just going to be a lot of whipsaw until then, as markets are undecided on whether or not for sure it's going to be interest rates being risen or staying the same or lowering. Now we're pretty confident that interest rates are going to at least stay the same or possibly be lowered. I personally believe interest rates are going to stay exactly the same, but we will have to see. And even if they do stay the same, we don't know how markets will react. They could shoot up or down, or like we were watching just the other week, post minutes. It was when the minutes came out of the last meeting. And I said, you just need to be careful of the whipsaw action that goes on, because it might be up for the afternoon and then down into the overnight in the next session. In that particular case, it was down post the news, and then it ripped up into the next session, and then it was back down the following session. So lots of opportunity for the bigger traders to just harvest liquidity and take money out of the market from retail traders. So I typically just kind of watch from the sidelines and avoid being in any significant commitment to a direction, but we will stay tuned on that. So thank you so much for watching. I will have another episode out tomorrow, and we'll catch y'all later.